Hey, you. Welcome back to the channel. And guys, today we want to discuss a theory that's been going around about Cersei Lannister uh, possibly uh, aligning herself, at some point with the White Walkers, uh, kind of taking on that role of becoming the Night's Queen, if you're familiar with the books. Um, but want to pretty much just deal with this in the context of the show and what we know about White Walkers, what we know about whites. In the last episode, we got to see a little bit about what happens when a White Walker is killed. The uh, Generally, the whites that they control die along with them. So found that all very interesting, but also in the context of the show and trying to understand uh, how White Walkers function. Are they autonomous? Are they conscious? And things like that. From what we've seen, they're almost like drones, right? And they are controlled, by White Walkers, by the Night's King. But Benjen Stark has been kind of the exception of that rule in the context of the show. Within the show, we get to see Benjen Stark not only with autonomy, but he also seems pretty much conscious of everything that's happened, who he was before. He's still fighting for the living, as he said himself. And we got to see him, actually make the decision to sacrifice himself, save Jon Snow, um, in the last episode. So that kind of gives us an idea that it is possible to become a autonomous, if you will, conscious White Walker. And I think that's our evidence in context of the show. But if we go back to the books, for the people who are familiar with the books, they probably already know this. But if you're not familiar with the books, and in case the writers are going in this direction, there's a story about a a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who actually falls in love with a White Walker female, and he's actually turned, and he leads the Night's Watch, and basically it gets to the point where they have to fight him off along with this army of the undead. So he willfully falls in love with this White Walker uh, female, and he becomes, what we know from the show, from the title, The Night's King. And a lot of people feel that's who this White Walker represents, that he is, that person. Although, back to the context of the show, we get to see that it was the children of the forest who created this particular version of the Night's King. So very interesting. But I think what's important is, in the context of the show, we have seen and we are aware that people can be kind of this mix or hybrid between a conscious person and yet be, part of the White Walker class, if you will. And so that is interesting, and that kind of supports, I think, a theory that it is possible that Cersei could not only align herself with White Walkers, but she could actually become one. Maybe she could become the Night's Queen. So that some of those theories, similar theories like that, have been going around online, and I looked at them and I said, that's very interesting. But I think, looking at Benjen Stark, it really supports it and can give us an understanding of how this would happen now. How Benjen was able to kind of, keep his some bit of humanity, in him to still try to fight for the living, as he said, is beyond me. Not sure all the details of how that occurred, but it does seem that it's possible that you can be some type of white and still have your your very much human characteristics, or maybe it could be similar to what happens in vampirism, where you might get a person who's changing over time, or maybe different levels of it. But anyway, guys, tell me what you all think about the Cersei becoming a White Walker theory, or becoming the Night's Queen. Guys, if you like content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.